Take a guess. Not Ireland, where else? England. Karl Marx is going to the British Museum Library 10 hours a day writing the book that will eventually be known as Capital. That's what he does for a living. But together, more Engels than Marx, but together they are also actively involved in what movement? Organizing the working class. In other words, this ain't just an academic exercise. They want to try to foment revolution. They're aware of the Irish question. And what did Jeremiah say? What is the Irish question? Ireland becoming a colony of England. The Irish are coming to work in the working class. You got racial tensions. They're aware of that. They're both actively trying to work to resolve it. Why?
See? Because the whole theory is that they need to be universal in order to revolt. They have to unite the two people even though they're clashing.
That's right. If this is your theory, here's the test of your theory. You talk about class consciousness, if you let each other's throats got nothing to do with class. You say it is, but guess what? You better resolve this for two reasons. Number one, your theory is wilting. Well, number two, actually. Because number one, if this theory is correct, you're supposed to be forming a revolution for a better world. So he said, very good. This is Robinson now. And commented, both of them commented on its import for future proletarian organization. Meaning what? Not just English and Irish, but who? In the any proletariat, right? Kikuyu and Luyo in Kenya. Black and white in the rural South of the United States. The subject of Robert Kelly's eventual dissertation, Hammer and Hoe. In other words, if this works in England, if it's universal, it should work anywhere between any groups. We got to work this theory out in reality because this ain't working. Anybody lost in what we're talking about right now? Just strictly in terms of England and Ireland. Everybody with us so far? All we're doing is gesturing toward chapter 2 because we're going to come back to the first page of the introduction and work our way through the entire layout for the book. But right now, we're giving an example of what Robinson is saying his central thesis is, one of them in this book, which is you can't make these two things the same thing. In fact, they may be so distinct in terms of their explanatory force that they are incommensurable. You cannot use them to explain the social reality. That was so far. Let's go back to page 42 and continue. He says, nevertheless, meaning what? Okay. The impact of their experience with the English proletariat on their theory of the proletariat's historical role appears to have been what? Slight. What does that mean? They wrote what they wrote. Their experience is very different, and the impact of, wow, this isn't true, on their theory was what? Slight. So let me ask you again, why are we using Marxism when it didn't even work to explain the classes that they were living and struggling with? Ask our Marxist friends that. I'm saying, when did you see it work? Marx and Engels didn't see it work. And one of the famous dictum of Karl Marx is, in other words, sayings that are attributed to him, is that I myself am not a Marxist. What does that mean? I wrote it. Right, like Christ not a Christian. Meaning what? Theories that are attributed to the movements of people, what they said or thought, are often not those people, but who? People come after them. And some of y'all theologians in training, been theologian your whole life. You know good and well that if you take Saul of Tarsus, also known as Paul, out of the New Testament, what happens to Christianity? Oh no, it'll be looking different. Paul was not Jesus. I mean, what are y'all doing in my name? In other words, wow. Go back to Christ, you say, maybe Bob Marley looks more like Jesus Christ than Paul. But either way, Paul is the architect of a lot of what we attribute to Christianity. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. We're not arguing who's right or wrong. We're just looking at methodology now. Much of what has been attributed to Marx, if you go to Marx and say, did that work? Nah, I tried, man, no. Well, why did you change your theory? Well, let's keep going. He says what? Here's an insight. Chauvelin Avenary observes that, here's a scholar writing about it, quote, the universalistic nature of the proletariat does not disappear in Marx's later writing. He keeps writing about it. When his discussion concentrates mainly on the historical causes of the emergence of the proletariat. What was at the outset a philosophical an observation. The universalistic nature of the proletariat is a corollary of the conditions of production in a capitalist society, which must strive for universality on the geographical level as well. Now, did anybody follow that? Let's go back. The universalistic nature of the proletariat, step right there. You know what he's talking about, right? The proletariat is the same everywhere, responds under any set of circumstances, right? Does not disappear in Marx's later writings. Meaning what? He saw it didn't work on the ground. Did he start writing about it? No. Continue. When his discussion concentrates mainly on the historical causes of the emergence of the proletariat. Meaning what? He's still going to say this is how the proletariat emerged historically. He didn't adjust it. What was at the outset a philosophical hypothesis? Meaning what? Did he have any of his history to back it up? No, he's sitting in the British Museum writing. I think that you ain't got no money, and you have a consciousness that's gonna make you go against the rich, and you got a manager class, and that's the bourgeoisie. It's like writing out math formulas. And some of y'all mathematicians, you got theoretical mathematics and applied mathematics. A theoretical mathematician never leaves her bathrobe sitting in the writing up formulas on the curtains and blackboards and whatever. In other words, I'm just thinking about stuff. This is Einstein. How fast is it's pretty fast. Okay, what about light? It's faster than that. You know what? I think light, okay, like energy. It's light's energy, right? So wait, okay, it's no mass. Okay, listen. What if he just thinking about stuff? And they fill up two blackboards and they go drink some. Somebody else got to make sure that they measured and made the right mathematical formula because they're responsible for how fast the train goes without going off the tracks. That's a little different. Marx is writing this like Einstein. I'm just thinking about it. Then he hits reality and does what? We continue to sentence. What was at the onset of philosophical hypothesis is what? Verified by historical experience and observation. Is it? According to what we read? No. The universalistic nature of the proletariat, which you understand, proletariat acts the same under all circumstances, is a corollary. What's a corollary? Byproduct, sub-rule, condition that is prefaced by a larger condition of the conditions of production in a capitalist society. Meaning what? Say it again. Somebody got to say it. That's right. You got to talk about the context you're working in. The universalization of the universality of any proletariat is a corollary of the society they find themselves in. You can't use that context to explain another context until you can make it conditional. These were the circumstances. These were the people. But then he drops the bomb. It's a corollary of the conditions of production of capitalist society power, which must strive for universality. What is striving for universality? One more time. The capitalist society, which must strive for universality on the geographical level as well. What has Western civilization striven for over the last 500 years in terms of its assessment of the right way to move through the world? Universality. So Marxism becomes a conversation these two white dudes is having about this handful of white people. They then try to extrapolate and say the whole world works this way. Because their corollary is that they are writing at a moment of the expansion of the British Empire, which is part of the expansion of Europe. Are you following me so far? So it's a corollary of the development of Europe. Not a theory that explains the development of humanity. I understand? You and your house, you and your brother and your sister decide that you're going to explain the relationship in your family. While your family is in charge of the biggest bank in the world. And the fight you had with your brother and sister and your mother and father, your aunties and them, you then, as you acquire other people's banks, which means you acquire all their mortgages and you acquire all where they live, you're going to use that as the rules that you explain everybody's life by. And people start saying that. So they start referring to themselves as followers of you, and they start saying, now, which one am I? Am I the brother? Am I the sister? Am I the aunt?